Trump heads to court as he fights to dismiss Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, live. Donald Trump is expected to appear in federal court in Florida today as he fights to have the criminal case into his alleged mishandling of classified documents thrown out. U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon will consider two motions brought by the former president's attorneys seeking to dismiss the case, claiming that, under their interpretation of the Presidential Records Act, Mr. Trump had the authority to designate the documents as personal and hold onto them after leaving the White House. Special counsel Jack Smith argues that the documents are not personal but presidential records, and so he did not have the authority to retain them. The second motion for dismissal centers around the Espionage Act. The hearing will take place at 10 a.m. Eastern Time in Fort Pierce. It comes one day after Mr. Trump scored a minor win in his election interference case in Georgia, when the judge threw out a handful of charges from the original indictment. On Wednesday, Judge Scott McAfee of the Fulton County Superior Court ruled that the 6 charges, 3 of which apply to Mr. Trump, should be quashed, but that the state can seek re-indictment on the charges at a later date. ICYMI, ex-Mar-a-Lago employee says he unwittingly helped load Trump classified papers onto plane. Brian Butler, a former Mar-a-Lago employee who has publicly identified himself as a witness in the classified documents case against Donald Trump, recounted how he unknowingly helped load boxes of those documents onto the former president's plane on CNN's The Source with Caitlin Collins. Mr. Butler, a valet and manager at Mar-a-Lago, said that in June 2022 he and Walt Nauta, another former employee who is also a co-defendant in the case, loaded approximately 10 to 15 white bankers' boxes from a car to Mr. Trump's plane. "I mean, we were just taking them out of the Escalade, piling them up. I remember they were all stacked on top of each other. And then we're lifting them up to the pilot," Mr. Butler said. Read on. CEO of company that guaranteed Trump's Jean Carroll bond says we don't take sides. Evan Greenberg, CEO of insurance company Chubb, which guaranteed Donald Trump's $92 million bond in the Jean Carroll defamation case, has said in a letter to customers, investors, agents, and brokers who inquired about it that the company doesn't take sides. He wrote on Wednesday that Chubb's participation has nothing to do with the underlying merits or with favoring any of the parties in the case. Mr. Greenberg said the bond, if fully collateralized, though did not reveal which assets are being used as collateral. "As the surety, we don't take sides, it would be wrong for us to do so, and we are in no way supporting the defendant. We are supporting and are part of the justice system, plumbing included in this case," the letter said. When Chubb issues an appeal bond, it isn't making judgments about the claims, even when the claims involve alleged reprehensible conduct. "I fully realize how polarizing and emotional this case and the defendant are and how easy it would be for Chubb to just say no. However, we support the rule of law and our role in it. We considered this the right thing to do, and we frankly left our own personal feelings aside." A further letter from the company also clarified that while Mr. Greenberg was appointed to a trade advisory panel by the former president in 2018, he also served on the committee under President Joe Biden. Chubb is a global provider of insurance products and is the largest publicly traded property and casualty insurance company in the world. TikTok, the one issue on which Republicans won't go along with Trump. Eric Garcia writes, "In the years since Donald Trump took over the Republican Party, elected officials have almost never crossed him. The cost of doing so has always been too high. They didn't cross him when he broke GOP orthodoxy on free trade. They elected not to buck him when transcript of a phone call revealed he wanted to have Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky dig up dirt on Joe Biden. Many still voted to object to the election results after Capitol riot. And just last month, they torpedoed a bill that swapped restrictions on immigration for aid to Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan. But on Wednesday, Republicans found a line they were willing to cross with the once and potentially future president, TikTok." Analysis: how much will gerrymandering actually affect the 2024 election? Gustav Schilander-Vritis. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers has long argued that Wisconsin is a purple state. The state's voting record on the national level would suggest he's right. In 2020, President Joe Biden won the state by just around 20,000 votes, less than 1 percentage point. In 2016, former President Donald Trump beat former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton by about the same margin, also within 1 percentage point. But looking at the state legislature over the last decade, you would see a solidly red state. Trump says he's proud of Laura over RNC takeover. Donald Trump has said he's proud of Laura after he secured his grip on the Republican National Committee. Last week, the campaign organization elected former North Carolina GOP chair and RNC General Counsel Michael Whatley as its new chair following the departure of Ronna McDaniel. Mr. Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, was elected vice chair of the RNC, cementing the Trump family's control of how Republican campaign cash gets spent. Days later, Laura boasted that the RNC had brought in a major fundraising haul in recent days. Proud of Laura. Big things happening. Mr. Trump responded on Truth Social on Wednesday night. Full story: Georgia judge drops 6 charges against Trump and co-defendants in election case. The judge overseeing Donald Trump's election interference case in Georgia has dismissed several charges against the former president and 5 of his co-defendants, but has stressed that his decision does not mean the entire indictment is dismissed. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee did not throw out the racketeering charges facing all defendants in the sweeping election interference case and has refused to throw out certain overt acts in the indictment against them. The judge dismissed 3 charges against Mr. Trump stemming from an alleged pressure campaign to solicit state officials to violate their oaths of office and subvert Georgia's election results to overturn his 2020 presidential election loss. Trump expected to attend hearing seeking to dismiss Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Donald Trump is expected to appear in federal court in Florida today as he fights to have the criminal case into his alleged mishandling of classified documents thrown out. U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon will consider 2 motions brought by the former president's attorneys seeking to dismiss the case, claiming that, under their interpretation of the Presidential Records Act, Mr. Trump had the authority to designate the documents as personal and hold onto them after leaving the White House. Special counsel Jack Smith argues that the documents are not personal but presidential records, and so he did not have the authority to retain them. The second motion for dismissal centers around the Espionage Act. The hearing will take place at 10 a.m. Eastern Time in Fort Pierce.